Okay, and we're back. Right. Okay. So, it's been an interesting week. I think would be fair to say. When I uploaded the Signalman um, on Halloween, it was a very rushed project. Like I can't lie. The thumbnail was finished for it literally the night before I plonked it up. So yeah, it was very much a hasty finish, but I'm really glad I did get it finished because what it's done for the channel in the short time it's been uploaded is absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I'll get my YouTube studio page up just to show you guys the rough facts and figures because it's to me at least it's absolutely astounding. It really is. I'm very much surprised that this did as well as it did. Mainly because my channel, I can't lie, has been on a bit of a downward for quite some time now. So I just thought, okay, I'll get it up, I'll get it finished, see how we do. And yeah, it definitely told me something, and it was that I made a couple of audio stories. I think about 3 years ago now, which is a unnerving thought. But yeah, it did. They I'm completely tripping over myself. I haven't streamed in a long time. But yeah, okay. I'll pull up the analytics. So yeah, as you guys can see, in the time it's been up since the 31st, it's had 11,000 views. It's raked in 944 hours of view time. And it's also managed to bring in 124 subscribers, which in the space of 8 days is more than I've seen in well over a year. So, yeah, I think the figures do speak for themselves in that regard. It was, yeah, as you guys can sort of see by this graph, it picked up slowly. You know, the first sort of day of it being out was quite slow, but after that, it sort of went up on a pretty consistent upward. I think about the 3rd and 4th of November seemed to be when it was at its best. So, yeah, in that regard alone, I'm quite impressed by that. Also, StreamYard is really different now. It's really weird. But yeah, I think what it did was what it's done is quite impressive. In all fairness, I'll just scroll back up to these stats here. Overall reach, once again, yeah, I'm really surprised. Interesting. Okay, interesting that this is where people were finding it from. Thomas and Friends. Yeah, I can understand that, as I did. You know, that's in the title. That's what it is. Yeah, very interesting. Thomas and Friends trains. It's pretty standard. 9.7 people did actually search the Signalman. Interesting. Okay. And people were finding it from Reunited, okay, The Wheel Tapper, Old Haunts, The Kildane Experiment adaptation, and an SFM remake. Okay. Nice. Sidearms Ghosts. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, okay, that's yeah, that's interesting enough, I suppose. Yeah. Huh, okay, interesting. Nice. Well, there you go. That's the sort of rough gist, anyway, of how the Signalman has done in its first sort of week. I'm still just baffled by the reception to this story. You know, I wrote it in about 3 or 4 days. I had it, you know, through the editing stage pretty quickly too. So, yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. I'm still incredibly surprised by it. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about with it. I think one of the things I would like to do, because I've seen quite a few interesting comments, is to do a rough analysis of the Signalman as it goes. So that's in fact what I'm going to do. I will pull up the channel, get the video up, yeah, and we'll see. what happens. I will put the StreamYard link in the comments in case anyone does want it. I have put it to a few people in Discord, but yeah. There we are. Okay. Videos. Right. The Signalman. Okay. Let's just get it into position. Bingo. Ideal. Okay. Right. That should be about ready to go, if I'm not very much mistaken. I'll just do a quick audio to make sure it's going through.
Cheer up, Henry. It wasn't your fault. Ice and snow.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. Okay. Cool. Right. Okay, here we go again.
Cheer up, Henry. It wasn't your fault. Ice and snow caused the accident. I'm sending you to Crew, a fine place for sick engines. They'll give you a new shape and a larger firebox. You'll feel a different engine and won't need special coal anymore. Won't that be nice?
Okay, so there we go. The first little bit right there. Yeah, so just a direct adaptation of the bit from the TV series where Sir Topham consoles Henry about going to Crew for his rebuilds, straight from the TV series. Yeah, I'll see if Brandon is actually available because he is the voice of the Fats Controller. One moment. I do apologize. I've got a new microphone now and it's so good at picking up my mouse clicking. Okay, right. Back to it. Ah, yes. The opening title sequence. I've just realized that I know it's a. I want to see how bad it is on the actual stream. What's the quality looking like? Oof. Okay. Interesting. Is there a way to improve that? That's really weird. Because on the screen it's supposed to be 720p. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't mean to do that. Okay. Well, yeah. So there we go. So that is a very subtle little in joke to the fact that yeah, just a subtle in joke to the fact it's based off the TV show moment. It's very small throwaway sort of thing you wouldn't really think about, but yeah, it's the little touches that I think work. It had been 50 years to the day since Henry's infamous flying kipper crash of 1935. The island of Sodor was enduring one of its harshest winters in many years. So all the music in this, aside from I think it's literally might just be a couple of pieces from Thomas 1 Edward 2 Henry 3 and Mavis M respectively. But apart from that, everything is Kevin MacLeod or Kevin MacLeod, however you want to say it. Which is pretty standard, actually. Yeah. the music's good. There were pieces that I wanted to use, but of course, with certain copyright rules, you can't often use what you want to use. So go figure, I suppose.
Snow blanketed the island, wreaking havoc on the Northwestern Railway. All manner of misfortunes had befell the railway. The Peel Godred branch's fleet of electric locomotives had been shut away in their shed. The skin-piercing chills of the season had frozen the overhead wires they picked up electricity from. As a result, the Fat Controller had to reassign engines to the branch in order to keep it running. On the morning of the 24th of January, 1985, the Fat Controller arrived at Tittenham Sheds to give the engines their instructions for the day.
So, as the credits did indicate, the image was done by... I'm not sure on his exact user right now, but it's John. I will just quickly double check what he goes by nowadays on YouTube. I should know because I put it in the... I think it might be JT Pania Studios. But yeah, I owe that to him for getting it done so short notice. And he did a really good job of it. I love the lighting. The framing is very good as well. So in that regard, John did a really good job. If you're watching this, John, well done.
Good morning, entrants. As you're all aware by now, the winter has caused many delays across the island, and nowhere more so than the Peel Godred branch. I've been trying to consistently rotate the engines allocated to the branch with the overhead wires frozen solid, and today, I'll need Henry and James there.
The two engines stared at each other for a moment. Henry was about to say something when James cut him off. "Oh, but sir..."
Ah, that's it. So this is Headmaster Hastings. I believe it's his Fat Controller suite or like concerto, something like that. I'm not totally sure. I will quickly look into that. I wanted to include the Fat Controller's theme, but couldn't include the classic one because it's got copyright on it. I'm 99% sure. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I will just double check what the piece of music was. Either way, I don't profit from this, so yeah, nothing to worry about there. Let's have a look. Headmaster Hastings Fact. Yeah, it's the Scherzo for the Fat Controller, arranged for romantic orchestra. Interesting. Okay, we'll carry on.
"Surely we're too heavy for that line." The Fat Controller laughed.
You're so wrong, James. The Peel Godred electric engines are actually some of the heaviest on the entire railway, and so the track can handle any engine.
Once again, Henry was going to speak, but James butted in. "But sir, it's dirty work by a dirty power plant. It would ruin my paintwork."
On the contrary, James, the power station is hydroelectric, meaning it creates energy through the movement of water.
I realise maybe James should have known this, but James is a bit of an idiot. So at the same time, I don't think he would have known any better. Yeah. The music is really good for this scene. I was tempted to have it cut off when the Fat Controller just stops speaking and the argument breaks out. But I think this does carry the scene nicely than if it was just the sound of idling steam engines. And just nothing. Just voices and idling steam engines. It would have been a bit dull.
Now Henry, finally with an opportunity to speak,
Also, as the engines get more
before the Red
noise
Mogul
with
kicked up another
James,
fuss.
it carries on that.
"If you are quite finished, James, we are more than happy to do so, sir." "Speak for yourself." The two engines left the sheds for Kildane to go up the Peel Godred branch. The wires above their smoke boxes had become rigid. Icicles dangled from them like daggers, glinting in the morning light. It wasn't...
Okay. So now we're at the bit where they're going up the Pill Godred. Not really much to say on this bit, to be honest. It's very, very basic. But it does the job. It sets things up. I think a lot of the imagery used is very much reminiscent of Narrow Gauge's audio stories, which is kind of what I was going for. His audio stories, the horror, I think it is Horrors of the Railways, were and still are absolutely very inspirational. So, yeah. Not much more to say there.
It wasn't long before they reached Peel Godred, where the yard foreman was waiting for them. Ah, good, you're here. The work for you two will be split with one of you on goods trains and the other on the passenger trains. Sir Topham Hatt has recommended that... I'll do the passenger work, sir. James hastily interjected. The yard foreman gave him a stale look before continuing. Yes, that's what he said. Henry, I presume you're all right with that? Yes, sir. You can count on us.
Funnily enough, that yes, sir line Henry says is one of the only in the entire audio story that I had to retake. The first one sounded so unenthusiastic. He just sort of went like, yes, sir. It's really bad. So, yeah, I had to retake that. It just sounded absolutely woeful. And I'm glad I did, because it would have been terrible.
The yard foreman nodded to the two before walking hastily back to his office. The chimney on the building began to pour out smoke, indicating he had just put a great deal of fuel into his fireplace. Not that anyone could blame him in these chilling conditions. The smoke billowed all over James. Brilliant. So much for not getting dirty. Throughout the day, Henry and James...
If there is one thing I would say about this, it's that it cuts, in hindsight, and I would have changed this definitely if I didn't panic and get it out as quick as possible. It definitely could have done with some fine tuning and maybe some more spacing of just the music and ambient noises between changes of scene. Because I wager for any adaptations, I don't know if this has been adapted or not, it would make them very clunky, which is never a good thing. So, yeah, that's one itty bitty bit of hindsight for you. Yeah, one thing I definitely would have changed in hindsight.
James worked hard, performing their respective duties to the best of their abilities, even in the unpredictable and treacherous conditions they faced. By the time the sun had set, James had already disappeared down the branch for the last time as he headed for home. Henry remained behind, shunting his final train to Knapford Harbour into position. With everything fastened and a green light from his guard, he blasted out from the aluminium works. Each blast from his exhaust was engulfed in a dance of orange and yellow from his firebox as his fireman piled coal in for the long trip
I
ahead.
think it's Thomas Lambert too.
He got the heavy train moving
really
up to a sensible speed, though as he went, he felt unsure, unsettled perhaps, as if he were being watched. He joined the main line and pulled into the yards at Kildare. There is no direct way to reach the east of Sodal without turning around when coming from the Peel Godred branch, so Henry had to run around his train and carry on tender first, given there was no turntable. When running tender first, engines are forbidden from exceeding 45 miles per hour, and so Henry proceeded down the main line very gingerly indeed, especially given the icy rails. As he and his train clattered through Marin, he began to build up momentum for the grueling climb ahead. A nearby bell rang for 11 as he did, ringing out ominously in the distance. The blast of his exhaust got louder and louder as he went, shifting from simple barks to tumultuous explosions like the roars of cannon fire as they echoed around the surrounding embankments.
This wasn't me intending to be a smartass, but one subtle little thing I did add to this scene is the fact the bell chimes 3 times. And that is a subtle little reference to Henry's number. I was going to have a little scene So I'll let everyone watching know a secret. When I initially put this together, the idea was that James was going to have a crash the same way Henry would. However, I decided to counter this and go for a more simple approach to the ghost. And I was going to have the bell chime 5 times for James instead of the 3 times that it chimes in this scene for Henry. No one really would have cared, but it's the little hidden details in pieces of media that make them so much better, I think.
He lumbered over the top triumphantly and began to put his brakes on for the journey down the other side towards Wellsworth when it happened. The valve linking Henry's steam brake and vacuum brake had jammed. His wheels locked up and he skidded helplessly down Gordon's Hill, picking up speed rapidly. The big green engine began to panic as he screeched through Wellsworth, now a powerless runaway. He continued to careen through Crosby, slowly losing his momentum, but it wouldn't matter. As he neared his forest, his driver saw it. Oh, glory! A set of points had jammed themselves, setting the road for a loop and a sharp bend.
Yes, that was me just
small
speaking
wonder
with the
as to
filter.
what happened next. The next morning, the engines at Tidmouth Sheds awoke to find that Henry was missing, and quickly the drowsy morning greetings had turned into hubbubs and theories. Most bemused of all was James. He should have been back not long after me. He was marshalling his last goods train when I left. Bear, who had spent the night at Tidmouth after a set of points left him stuck in a siding by the station, tried to spread a more positive light on the situation. Don't worry, James. He might have been very tired after finishing up his last train for the night. He might have spent the night at Knapford Sheds instead. You probably see him.
About that.
The engines all jumped. None of them had seen the Fat Controller walk up, bundled up like an Arctic explorer.
I need an engine to pick up the breakdown train and rescue Henry. I've received word that he has crashed in the forest just east of Crosby.
I'll go, sir.
Thank you, Bear.
The Hymex engine roared into life as he exited the sheds to go and rescue his stricken colleague. When he arrived there, he found the train in a heap, blocking most of the tracks in and out of the forest. Henry hadn't suffered too much, neither had his crew, as his tender had taken the brunt of the impact. His water tank had been pierced by debris, though, and had created a frozen puddle around the big engine. His train had flung itself across the mainline in a zigzag, loads of aluminium flung from their wagons like waves of metal across a snowy ocean. Bear quickly set to work, lifting Henry from where he laid and getting his crew into the works coach to be checked over and taken to a hospital. Throughout the whole operation, Bear had tried to engage in conversation with Henry and get his account on the ordeal. Not a single word was uttered by the NWR's number 3, however. He sat in silence, an expression that cannot be described in one mere word across his face. Once as much had been recovered as possible, Bear set down the line. There was a deafening silence despite the roars from his hydraulics, as no one said a word. The Hymek had decided any more efforts of getting through to Henry would be futile, and he would talk about it when and if he was ready. Days went by, and the engines checked in on Henry when and if they could. The repairs to his tender were extensive, but rapid progress was being made. Around a week after the accident, Bear was shunted into the works next to Henry by the works diesel. The linkage between his transmission and engine had failed and needed repairing as soon as possible. He was pleased to see that Henry was awake and hoped to find answers. Good morning, Henry. How are you doing? Bear? I didn't expect to see you. What happened? An issue with the linkage between my transmission and engine. Hopefully a quick fix.
Okay, so that. And we have a special guest introducing the Fat Controller himself.
Yes.
Hey-o.
Hello, everyone. I've arrived from Narnia to to partake in this special Christmas episode. I mean, Christmas horror audio story that I was had the pleasure of voicing alongside Enterprise in Engine 93, also known as Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think it was. I don't know.
I think it's Obi-Wan Kenedwood, I think he says at the end. Either way,
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
see that at the end of the audio story. I can't believe... It's one thing I love about Matt, and I'll get into this later when we reach it. His ad-libbing and his improvising is just top-notch. It's always phenomenal.
I agree. It's so fantastic. I mean, yet, like, he's been a part of some great series like Thomas Wayne 23. Even like he voice acted for me once in a the Magic Railroad spoof a few years ago. It was pretty fun.
He just enjoys it, you know. He gets into it. He's one of the voice actors in this fandom. He's been around for so long. Not trying to make you sound old, Matt, I promise. But he just... I don't think there are words to describe what he's done in the fandom. Because he has had a profound impact on a lot of different series. I think that's one way of putting it.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Because, like, it's just the thing about Enterprise at Engine 93, like, because I mean, well, he started out his series in One Railway. He's still doing his series in a way. He's been a part of so many big projects, like the Tatmar parody, the Endermere Origins, and so many other like big name projects that he's. Oh yeah, the Thomas Creator Collective. How could I not forget about that?
Of course, I can't. But honestly, those films, they were definitely a part of my childhood. I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure they were for a lot of people. So in that regard, Matt is truly for a lot of people, I think, nostalgia.
Oh yeah, pure nostalgia. I mean, alongside Wilder Wester, alongside Hero Fan Productions, Miss Oliver and Blossom, NCSTL 576, Train Level 476. I could go on and on and on.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy. And I still remember the first time that I got his Discord off of an old friend who is no longer in the fandom, sadly. And yeah, you know, the fact he even accepted my request, and he's done a lot of lines for me over the years, and I think the only ones that have actually seen the light of day
yes,
were in this audio story. Yeah, it's such a shame for you, Last Fan, because the collective just dies. It's so annoying as well, because those short films were coming out in a time where Thomas was really like in a low point, I think is fair to say.
Exactly. Like this was like getting close to the 70th anniversary of Thomas.
Exactly. Like, and you had some legendary people coming together for these things.
Exactly. I mean, yes, and some have come and gone, but Enterprise and Engine has outlasted them all, basically. Like
something with Sodor Railway, and he's like Duke. How poetic. Creators come, creators go, but Matt goes on forever. What a guy. He really, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He did, funnily enough, you talk about the Tatmar parody. The original Tatmar rewrite. Yeah, I think we all did. I went back and binged the whole collective earlier in this year. Wow. Mm-hmm. It really takes you back. And I love what they did with it as well. It had a great cast, some really talented model makers too, voice actors like Diesel
D19 Blossom was a part of it.
I can't believe Diesel D19 was a part of that collective as well. Blimey.
Oh yeah, Diesel D199.
God, wow. That just sounds insane, doesn't it? You know, the fact that he was a part of it. Someone in the time that he's been in the fandom making his videos, he has created a ginormous following, and I think that's something we could all definitely envy.
Of course. I mean, he's come so far. I mean, because a lot of people over the years have begged Enterprise Engine to voice a character like Edward or Thumper or like or whatnot. I mean,
Exactly.
even Splatter and Dodge. Like,
yeah, he in the original Tatmar rewrite that I did, and I will probably have to, and he did an iconic improv for the we're going to have a party scene, and I intend to make a full redub of this scene just to show it off, because he turned Splatter into an absolute party freak, and I think it's iconic. And if those lines that he recorded never see the light of day, then I have failed as a content creator. So
well,
I think maybe that will be my Christmas. My Christmas special will be a redub of the scene at the smelters, from Diesel 10 coming in, singing his song, to Toby ringing his bell and causing Diesel 10 to do a stupid.
well, I mean, why not? Oh, why not that song "Rocking Around the Christmas Tree," and then while that track's playing, dialogue goes on. Toby ding-a-ling-a-lings his bell, and then Diesel 10 just like violently teleports the shed, and then the roof just.
He is a bastard, that Diesel 10. Well, hey, we've had our first swear. Yay.
Well,
you're
going to be Diesel 10 and Gold Dust Hunters.
This is
coming out
true.
next year, so
I'm so glad I redid those lines, because oh my god, the old ones were terrible. They were absolutely horrific.
I know. I did look. I listened to those original lines. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you're right. I think to myself, yeah, this. But I mean, I still have my old lines and my redone lines, and I'm still waiting on people's other lines to, a handful. I mean, I'm still because I'm still waiting on my Thomas lines and my other line. Because let's see, if I pull up the cast list from Gold Dust Hunters, which there is going to be a music video coming out later this month, actually, funny enough, on my channel. Let's see.
You're not going to make me sing, are you?
Wait, am I singing? No, I'm actually.
Don't make me sing. God, I did that once. I did a Will You, Won't You cover. It got some views. We're not doing it again unless people actually want me to do another cover. I don't want to. Please don't.
Let's see, because I got my lines done. I'm still waiting on my Thomas, Edward. I got my Henry. I got my James, but he hasn't done his lines yet. I got my Percy lines. Tobias, I don't have a lady. Sniper Dodge, I've got two different people for that.
That's what I did for Splatter and Dodge, and it just makes them that much more funny.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yes,
I've
still waiting. Yeah, so just still waiting on him. And then I got my junior lines from 3 years ago.
Hello, Scotland is calling. Oh god, that's still so weird. Mr. Conductor's just got a Scottish surfer dude cousin. Good grief. Magic Railroad was different times.
It was something. But
yeah.
The fandom came together.
Yeah, and honestly, just for the laughs, I do enjoy the parody even more at times with it. Surprisingly good. Not to diss Vinny or anyone else involved, but for the fact it's a Thomas film shot in live action, the visual effects are very good.
Agreed. Although
I will
recently I saw this beautiful Wooden Railway episode. I can't remember the name of it, but my goodness, NEC did a very good job on that project. It was really awesome.
Yeah, I think you can do a lot with props. It's just got to be made convincing.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
To be honest, I was never able to, which is why I've just switched to being a voice actor. Because I will be honest, most of my OC's character journey is going to be seen in a different series anyway. I won't say anything on that, but he's going to be seen as a pretty prominent character in another series by another YouTuber.
All right.
Yeah, just because also due to the fact I don't have trains because I've got a very old PC. Yeah, I'm gonna just stick to the voice acting shenanigans. Plus, it's fun. I can just sit over my little microphone.
Yeah, and then just record lines and such. So
precisely, I don't even have to like go into a studio or set up a microphone because I will be honest. I'm surprised how good the quality on it is, but I've just got a teeny tiny little £10, like the microphones that TV presenters tend to wear on their shirt, like a teeny tiny little microphone. That's all I have, and it does the job.
The shocking thing is, like, voice actors in the industry of voice acting since COVID have done like their voice lines from home or had to do like a hybrid sort of situation.
Yeah.
Like,
it's bloody weird. Right,
it's something.
Let's carry on the spooky story.
But enough about me. We're all really worried about you. What happened the other day? Henry's face fell upon a blank expression for a moment. That phrase seemed like it had triggered something within the big green engine, though he tried not to show it. He looked at his buffers, then out to the yards before his eyes rested upon Bear again. How much do you know about my crash with the Flying Kipper in 1935? Bear was taken aback by this question. It seemed irrelevant to the current subject, but he didn't want to risk upsetting his colleague. Ice and snow jammed a signal when you crashed into the back of James's goods train. You were sent off to Crewe for a rebuild. And what about any fatalities? Bear was even more confused and surprised by this question. He couldn't quite decipher what Henry was getting at. The guard of the goods train you hit was killed. A collision between you and a brake van at about 50 miles an hour, it would have obliterated it. There was one more.
I will be honest. That little act of just adding a lot of narration before a piece of dialogue was a time-saving tactic to try and make this thing as long as possible. And a lot of authors for books have used it over the years just to add even more pages. Like, there could be a solid paragraph between someone saying something and then the reply from someone else. It's all basically time wasting. And I know a lot of people use it to good effect. Narrow Gauge has used it quite a lot in his horror stories, as has 22 Tesla.
That's very true. I mean, now I myself, I'm the last few years, funny enough, I've been a part of 22 Tesla's universe, actually. In fact, I was actually part of his recent audio story that was surrounded a real life event, actually, that took place overseas, I think.
Spooky.
Yeah, like the tipping over story, I think it was.
Now I remember.
Yes. I think it was based off an actual incident that took place in 1966 about a waste tip that just collapsed and buried a school, I think it was.
I can't be too sure. I don't know.
I don't know either.
An audio, I think most, not even just audio stories, although it definitely helps with the horrors, but pretty much any story that, like Audrey, can either build on one of the previous Thomas stories, like this audio story, The Signalman uses the Flying Kipper.
Yes.
any audio story that can build on either an episode or a real event feels very Audrey.
It does.
Just because that sort of taking real life events was his bread and butter. Jesus,
Without a doubt. I
don't know
mean,
why people are still letting off fireworks over here. Bonfire night was 4 days ago. Sod off.
I think the fireworks are meant to celebrate. I think they're celebrating Christmas way a month in advance. Maybe
Either
that's
that or it's for Remembrance Day, even though Remembrance Sunday is tomorrow and the actual Remembrance Day, the 11th of the 11th, is on Monday. So stop letting them off. Seriously, like some of my neighbours have been letting off fireworks for over a week. It's bloody annoying, and it also scares my dog.
Understandable. I mean, funny enough about Narrow Gauge, he released an audio story surrounding that one scene in the Deputation episode where Donald and Douglas save Henry from that snowbank.
Yeah. It's funny how a teeny tiny little event, because it's clever. Some audio stories have carried over from Stepney Gets Lost. Some, I'm trying to think. I believe
Put up on Percy, James and the Trouble with Trees. That's where the tipping over story kind of fits in.
Yeah, it's quite clever. And a lot of them tend to abuse, not abuse. They tend to use Ghost Train as a way to just take the piss out of Thomas. Either that, or one thing that was clever with a lot of Shunter Productions is early horror stories is that a lot of them were canon to each other.
Yes, that's very true.
Like when I believe it was Bear and Douglas met the ghost of old Dean Morris, then Donald took the piss out of Douglas, and then Donald met the ghost of the soldier in the manor. Whatever.
Oh yeah, that story about the manor. Yeah, that was
yeah, bloody clever. Well done, Shunter Productions.
Yeah, incredible what he does. Now it's shocking that Carson Marenka, he's adapted some pretty spooky stories himself. Demons, the 13th Van, from those were pretty awesome adaptations of those stories.
Yeah.
Very shocking that he didn't do anything this year for Halloween, but
he's been in all fairness, I believe he's explained that he's been quite busy. Of course, I think there was a 6-month gap between Light Work and Stop and Smell the Thomases, which in itself is an absolutely brilliant story.
It's a funny story. The whole would have been a more appropriate explanation of Thomas and Rosie meeting up for the first time. No offense to Thomas and the birthday mail train, but still.
Well, to be fair, I think it makes the fact that Rosie followed Thomas and idolized him takes it even further, in the sense that Rosie had heard of him. I think the fact it provides context on that is in itself absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It gives Rosie a little bit of lore, which for a hit era character, not bad at all. Well played. Yeah, that in itself is a very good story, I think, and definitely deserves all the credit it's got. Also, it includes songs by Blondie and the Lars, which is just, fair play. Okay, nice. Yeah, well done, Carson. Good job.
Oh, yeah, of course. Now, funny enough, my recent story coming later this month is actually based off a camera angle from season 1, funny enough.
Oh?
It's basically it's that wide angle shot. It's basically, it's in a Rumby, I think it is. It's basically that. It's based off that one particular shot in the Flying Kipper, where you see Henry pass by, it looks like some dead woods, I think it is, and you see him and the Kipper, you know what I mean? If you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, just basically context. Rail fan, likes taking shots of passing engines, and then he has to, and then he's called away, but he forgets his camera, and then years later, shockingly, the camera works, and Thomas and his crew are able to find it. So,
I will say there are two. I will give some not context, maybe some secret info. I've already, because a lot of people, I did put a poll out, seem to think that about 25 people have requested a full-on series of audio stories next year, and I'm all too happy to do that. I'm thinking about five to 10. I reckon maybe about 6 or 7 maximum. And one of them I'm contemplating being a sequel to the Signalman. And the other is going to be about the dangers of train spotting.
All right.
I know that's already been touched on theoretically. Do you remember Great Waterton? I think that was a 22 Tesla story as well, actually.
I think that was narrow gauge, actually.
Was it? Oh no, it might have been. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, because that was basically around
narrow gauge narrates it. Silly me.
Yeah, but it was quite the chilling story.
Oh yeah. It's once again, it's the fact it just took something. It took the great discovery. It's like if someone took Calling All Engines and made a horror story. I will be back momentarily. Keep the people entertained.
Okay. But yes, everyone. So now that I've taken over the stream for the remainder of this is going to be a 7-hour stream. Might go 10, maybe 20. We're gonna be basically delving deep into future projects. So essentially, Camera Run B coming soon. Then you're going to see on my channel. Then the Polar Nor'Wester by Shine Ortiz. Then back-to-back Christmas stories surrounding a galloping sausage, a story surrounding a Christmas duck, and Birdie the Bus. Yes, Birdie the Bus is going to be having his own little Christmas little story coming very soon. I will also say that Shine Hayes and Shine Ortiz are amazing narrators in the Thomas the Tank Engine community. They deserve Geminis and Oscars and all the amazements and such. Bluebell's fan 110. Yes, I mean, I'm excited. Funny enough, 5 minutes ago, it just started to snow, but then it stopped, and now the sun's coming out. Oh, sad. Because, it's so lovely when the snow falls. I could talk endlessly about snow. I could talk endlessly about Thomas once seeing Terrence the tractor in a field one day, and then Thomas is like, "Why are you doing this? There's kids around," screams Thomas. Anywho, oh, you haven't seen snow yet? Well, do the snow prayer. It will work 99.9% of the time. It should work. Heck, I will also say that in due fairness and due time, that who knows? Maybe there'll be an audio story about when Thomas meets the Teletubbies and how the Teletubbies became sentient locomotions on the island of Sodor. It's hard to say, but that aside, oh yes, and speaking of Gold Dust Hunters, before I forget, the following I will announce the casting list in order. Myself, once again, Dwayne as Thomas, Seth as Edward and Tobias, Stradley Studios, aka Nate as James, Autumn K as a lady,
Autumn K.
And welcome back.
Hey,
I was keeping the viewers entertained in your absence.
Hooray! It's only November, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't worry.
Oh yeah. Though shockingly, last 2 years, there's been no snow until January hits in my area.
The UK never sees any snow.
You've never seen snow?
No, I've seen it, just not in a long ass time.
Ah,
Been a long time. A very long time.
wow.
Okay, right. I am going to skip in time a little bit here.
Adrian Knight. He'll be able to seem to motion for the old engine to start. I have something to ask you.
Certainly, Bear. What's on your mind?
And now we get enterprising.
Well, this was spurred on by a chat me and Henry had. He paused to see Henry giving him a knowing stare. Bear returned this look before continuing. What do you know about Adrian Knight?
I loved that. A lot of the music timing in this was unintentional, but the way the music certainly sometimes picks up at the mention of either like Adrian Knight or something or other, I was just, all I did was I put the music track in and just played it, and I couldn't believe how well that little bit of music lined up, the way it jumps when Ben mentions his name.
Yes, it's a great observation there, because it's worked out so well. Now, the thing is about Adrian Knight, according to files and such, he is in no relation to the legendary police officer Michael Knight, which I mean, coincidence, I know.
He's just Mr. Knight. Fun. I will provide some context here. Adrian Knight is, in fact, a signalman on one of the railways that I volunteer on, the Watercress line. I just thought of a random signalman that we had and thought, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to insert him into this story. So Adrian Knight was chosen. Also, because I think it's a somewhat spooky name. Mr. Knight. Sounds spoopy. But, yeah. So that's how that came to be. Spooky times.
Mention of this name. Edward's eyes widened for a moment. He looked at Henry, who seemed to motion for the old engine to speak.
Adrian Knight. Now that is a name I haven't heard in a long time. He was a signalman back in the late 1920s.
So, that line, that is what spurred Matt on to make an Obi-Wan joke. I put that line in where Edward says, now that's a name I haven't heard in a very long time, as a direct Obi-Wan Kenobi joke.
Oh, yes.
Because of course, when Luke asks, are you Obi-Wan Kenobi? And he just goes, that is a name I have not heard in a very long time. Very long time.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I had to add a bit of a Star Wars in-joke somewhere.
Into the 1930s, too.
Worked out pretty good.
He was productive and efficient, but he was also a little bit of a troublemaker.
He was a troublemaker.
It got to a point where our controller at the time, Sir Topham Hatt I, had completely lost patience with his actions and sacked him.
There's another good little bit of tone, just the way that the music starts to make that rumbling noise as Edward mentions he sacked him. I don't know what it is about Kevin MacLeod's music, but the way it just seems to line up so well in scenes is uncanny.
Yeah, the thing is about Kevin MacLeod, he's pretty good, but also there's Mayu. Mayu is another talented...
Yes.
Because his music has been heard throughout Tales of the Scrapyard sightings, even Narrow Gauge's horror audio stories, even in
Absolutely.
my universe, I've started to use Mayu.
Yeah, to be fair, there is music that is once again very good. I don't know how they do it. Just make bits of music that are so damn good, but also don't infringe copyright.
Exactly. I mean, that's the royalty-free music that they create is a good bypass to ensure that there's no no copyright issues down the line.
Yeah.
Copyright.
Monetization.
Ah, yes. If only Dashi Gaming's were here to see us in awe.
It's funny because I saw a meme the other day, and it was if Kevin MacLeod put copyright claims on his music, and it was just the world on fire.
Wow.
Which is true. I think we'd all be screwed.
In more
Kevin,
ways
if
than
you're
one.
listening, please, we need your music. On with the spooky.
November of 1934. Days before, he had led a strike of signalmen that left someone untrained in a signal box and caused an accident. So, sacking him was justified.
Oh, that's what I forgot to mention. So Matt didn't do this intentionally, and I did mention it to him after I'd uploaded the story, but he skipped a whole paragraph out of this exposition. There was supposed to be a paragraph that explains that Adrian Knight was a union leader, like the unions that lead strikes and whatnot. He was a leader of a union. They were called the Sodor Union of Rail Workers, or SERWA, which isn't a very flattering anagram by any means. But, yeah, that whole paragraph got skipped. So we just go from Adrian Knight, bit of a troublemaker, led a strike, got sacked. And to be fair, it probably cut about a minute, 2 minutes off the runtime, which might well have helped, and also helped to condense this little exposition scene.
After this, well, he became deranged and angered. He actively slandered the railway and Sir Topham Hatt at our own stations and was banned from railway property. After that, he seemed to vanish over the Christmas period. He wasn't seen again. Well, at least until...
Edward paused. He looked at Henry, who had remained surprisingly silent.
Want to take over from here, Henry?
Henry looked away meekly. He did seem as though he was going to say something, but hesitated. There was a deafening silence between the engines in the sheds, all of whom listened intently.
I suppose I will. January of 1935 was one of the harshest months we've had in a long time. The temperatures were almost at record lows for the century. These conditions had plagued the railway greatly.
There's a very weird thing here, and I don't know why, but in G.W. Shunter's sound effects library, there is a sound effects for heavy wind. That plays in the background of this whole exposition scene. And it's that low sort of almost rumbling noise. I'll just play it now so people can hear it.
Though in the very early hours of the 24th of January, when Henry set out to take the Flying Kipper, the weather was not to blame.
Not yet.
When he crashed. Adrian Knight had trespassed and jammed a signal
in
a set of
like
points into a side.
In the background, there's almost like a woo noise. And somebody commented asking if that was like choir vocals, like low choir vocals in the background. No, that's supposed to be a wind sound effect, which is in G.W. Shunter's library for I think the sound effect was called Heavy Wind. And I was like, that doesn't sound like wind, but it sounds spooky, so I'm going to leave it in.
Damn, that's amazing.
It's really odd, but it kind of adds to the scene, I think. So I won't complain.
Where James had stopped with a goods train. Unfortunately for him, however, he caught his leg on the point blade and was stuck. He desperately tried to get it out, though it was being crushed by the huge blade. His panic grew when he heard a train approaching through.
The engines were all baffled by what they had heard. Henry was always right to be defensive about a crash so severe that killed a guard, but now they really understood why he tried to deflect the subject so quickly. "There is more to it, though," Henry said in a morbid tone. "Whilst I was laid up at Crewe, I sat alone in the workshops most nights, and on one of those occasions he came back. He appeared in front of me, staring at me coldly with eyes that could pierce a stone wall. He walked around me, then stood in front of me again, before walking towards me and vanishing. I'm convinced my recent accident was his doing too. I killed him, and he has had it out for me ever since." All of the engines remained silent in various states of mind, except for James. "I remember Adrian Knight very well. However, I'm sure he's not out there. It was very compelling until the ghost part."
Believe what you will, James, but you should know better than to mock the supernatural.
Edward is right.
So, at the very end of Edward's line there, owl hoots. Now, this is something that I only picked up on later on, but in practically every audio story released by Narrow Gauge, 22 Tesla, Reneus Productions, I think it is, Renprod,
Yeah.
there is always a guarantee that somewhere an owl will hoot. And usually it's after the mention of the titular ghost. I only picked up on it, weirdly, in Reneus Productions' is the Yellow Engine story about, well, the Yellow Engine being part of a death cult, I think it was.
Yes, I think yeah. Basically, like Victor's brother,
God,
essentially.
That was such a dark story.
Yeah, rest in peace, Edward, and rest in peace to the victims of the Yellow Engine.
Wasn't it Bert?
Oh yeah. Bert apparently got reincarnated into that.
I'm convinced Reneus Productions actually hates Bert because Bert gets killed in the Guard from Hell story, and Bert is part of the death cult that the Yellow Engine is in. What did Bert do?
There's going to be more to this. I'm sure we'll find out in a future story whenever that happens.
Probably next Halloween, but either way, justice for Bert.
Yes, justice for Bertram, no matter what.
Why can't Mike get inducted into a death cult? But that's the thing. Sometimes I love the way that a Reneus production story ends. The only one I do not like is the ending of the Yellow Engine, where Bert just goes out of the shed chanting weird death cult sounds. It would explain how he knew about the Yellow Engine, granted, but I don't know. I don't like it. It just insinuates that Bert is going to like take Mike and Rex's soul, which is pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
Or is it trying to say, maybe, that the Yellow Engine was reincarnated into Bert? But that wouldn't make sense, because Bert's pretty old. Unless he possessed Bert.
Yeah, unless he merged his spirit into the body of Bert.
Of
thus,
Bert, the teeny tiny
enabling
blue
control
engine.
of his subconscious.
That's the only way I could think of it working. There we go. Conspiracy theories.
James, as I said, I saw him all those years ago, and it hasn't left me. I can still see that look in those soulless eyes of his.
If there's one thing I don't like, it's that I use that same little analogy of soulless eyes twice in the space of about a minute. That's the only thing I would have changed in the script in hindsight.
Understandable.
It's just annoying he says it twice. Henry, pick something different. Henry didn't get a GCSE in English. If you know, you know.
James said no more. Edward, Henry, and Bear all said their goodnights too, and all went to sleep, though none had an easy time falling asleep that night. Throughout the next day, James was back on the Pilgodred branch, this time paired up with Bear. He was absolutely livid to find that he was rostered on the goods trains, but got on with his work through gritted teeth and smarmy comments. Around 10 p.m, he sat waiting in the departure siding at the aluminium works, with a rake of empty wagons, waiting to take them back to Kildane before returning home light engine when the yard foreman came to speak to him.
Good evening, James.
I'd like to thank you first for your hard work over these last couple of days.
Thank you, sir.
However, there has been a points failure up the line and you can't leave yet.
Oh, come on. It's freezing out here.
I'm sorry, James.
The way
There's
James'
nothing
voice
I can
cracks.
do about it.
Freezing.
The yard foreman turned on his heel and made a beeline for his car, desperate to get back to his warm home and leaving James to wait it out.
Poor James.
About 2 hours later, James had fallen asleep. His crew had gone off to the office to stay warm when he awoke with a start. The temperature felt like it had been half since he fell asleep.
Subtle detail again. That little wind noise comes back. That was my subtle little way of just inferring that the ghost was going to be there if people hadn't sort of grasped onto it. That little low blowing wind noise just comes back into the background.
His boiler tubes like icicles now. This made him incredibly apprehensive as he looked around, taking in his snowy surroundings before looking down and almost jumping out of his boiler cladding. There in front of him was a man. James felt as if his eyes had pierced his smoke box, almost gazing right through the startled red engine, as if he wasn't there. He walked closer to James, eyeing him up and down as if he had never seen him before. He then stepped back. James wanted to speak, but he couldn't. He felt his entire face stiffen as the man opened his mouth.
Your railway ruined my life.
His voice felt like it could carry itself across the entire island as a gust of wind conveyed the man's icy words. He stared at James for a few moments with the same unfleeting gaze that words could simply not describe, before disappearing. The whole ordeal lasted no more than a minute, but to James it was a lifetime. As if on cue, the temperature seemed to climb back to a normal level and his crew came out of the office. "You're right, James. Time to go." James didn't say a word for the entire journey down the branch. He dropped off the wagons at Kildane and headed for home tender first like Henry had some days before. James was different from then on.
So there we go. That's the ghost sequence.
Indeed it is.
Someone actually commented on the video, and I did laugh a little bit. Why did he say the railway ruined his life? Well, if you think, union leaders fight for the equality of workers, and of course in the 30s there wouldn't have been much of that. So,
True.
From Adrian's perspective, he was sacked unfairly fighting for the rights of his fellow workers. So I think you can understand why. And then also Henry did run him over. Nothing major.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think I'd be pretty pissed if I was ran over by a giant green whale.
Well,
on rails.
Of course, it's bad timing. It was the switchblade that caused him to be pinned on the rails.
I was tempted to make the sound of that even more brutal. There is a very subtle little skin crunching sound, but I was going to have that whole scene be even longer and even more brutal. But nah, I can't make it too dark for a Thomas. audio story. That was the other thing. Someone commented on the story. This one really got me. Hang on. Let me go on to. Oh wait, I've got the audio story up. You should be able to see if I just scroll down to the comments panel.
Okay, so we got.
Let's
see.
Where is it? This one really. Oh, here it is.
Well, that's the point of an audio story.
Yeah. It's just a audio story with a still image. Yeah. Well, it says so in the title. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
Right.
I agree, Bluebells. It did make me laugh. It's just a daft comment. Like, why? If it's not necessary or in any way constructive, don't say it. That's my general gist with people who comment on stuff. If it's not nice or constructive, just leave it out. But enough about my petty issues with people commenting rude things. He always seemed to be looking over his figurative shoulder, almost always in fear and especially at night. He didn't mention what had happened to him that night, but Henry, Edward, and even Bear all knew. And most importantly, he never again mocked the supernatural, in fear he would get another visit from the Signalman. I love this piece of music by Kevin. There's a little clock ticking noise in the background. I don't know what it is about it, but it's so unsettling.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Right. Well, there we go. That is the Signalman. We'll just skip through them. Actually, I say that we may as well just go through the credits. They aren't long.
And there I am.
You got a credit.
Yes. One of many credits over the years. And then there's Matt.
Of course. The one, the only enterprising engine. There we go, the music. Sound effect. General writing credits, editing credits, which just about fitted the frame.
Oh, yeah.
And now,
our feature presentation.
Whew. Adrian Knight. Now that is a name I haven't heard in a long time. A long time. I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm Obi-Wan Kenedward. Sorry. Back to the lines.
I love it. It's honestly one of Matt's greatest little moments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The way he just casually, now that is a name I have not heard in a long time. But yeah, it's just one of Matt's little moments, which are just so damn good. But yeah, the other ad-lib of his that I love, as I said, is the ones that he did for Splatter and Dodge. Well, I said for Splatter, as Adam, Agent Andrews, voices Dodge.
Yes.
But yeah, during the party scene, Splatter says this, and I quote, "Hooray, we're going to have a party. Where's the ABBA record?" I cannot do the line justice, but when I do this redub remake, oh my god. I think people are going to enjoy it. What have we got here in the recommended tab then? I haven't seen this yet, Old Haunts by the Railway Depot, but I've heard good things about it.
Okay. And there's a McDonald's advertisement.
Remember Me, Thomas and Friends by Train King James, Extraordinary Engines, a FIFA thingy, the live stream we're in, Kitchen Nightmares by Gordon Ramsay. Oh, Reunited. Apparently, quite a lot of people who found this video found it through that video.
Really?
Which is an
Wow.
interesting one. Yeah. Bridge Collapse, Blue Train with Friends horror story. I can't believe Blue Train with Friends is now dead.
It was gonna happen.
Yes, well, it's just annoying that the person who made this happen was a school child who got into an argument.
Well,
I just find
it sucks for the Roblox community, but there's always alternatives to bypass it.
But Blue Train with Friends was different. Blue Train with Friends as a game was absolutely ahead of its I'd say ahead of its time, to be honest. It was absolutely iconic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it had its good moments, bad moments. I mean, hence why that's why I turned one of the bosses in that game into a ghost engine.
Rest in peace.
But hey, at least Toby lives on and trains thanks to I.
This is true. This is true. Maybe one day we'll get another decent game.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's hard to believe we're nearing Christmas and Arkin Merchant will be soon finally complete.
I plan, like I just sort of briefly analysed the Signalman, I plan to do a very lengthy analysis video on the Arcane Merchant.
As I truly think that Oliver is the villain in the end. It has to be.
I don't know. The thing is, James is obviously a bit of an a-hole.
Well, maybe a character that realizes the error of his ways at the when it's too late. But what if Daisy has something to do with this? What if Atherton, potentially
Atherton.
Because well, Atherton, that's basically the old the well-known Western bear.
I know
character
the one. I was just saying, Atherton, bring her forward.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Montague's, has long since, has since been defeated. So
it's just annoying because obviously Oliver's original voice actor was contacted and didn't come back. So now I believe Tynes is voicing Oliver.
That's weird.
But then Montague is allegedly, from what I've interpreted from the trailers, Montague should make an appearance in it.
But I think it's only through flashback.
I don't even think it's through a flashback. I think I have a little theory, and I will.
Do you think he's going to come back?
No, God, no. Jesus, no, he's dead. He's like DED. He's dead. No, I think there is a scene. Hang on. You know what? What am I doing? There is a bloody trailer on YouTube.
And already 5 clips have been released from that particular film.
Yeah, my favorite clip of the bunch, I think, is the newest one, the 5th. Right.
Yeah, I think that's where I
won't
think
play any audio for it or actually play the clip. I will just merely show the screenshots that I am referring to that are, in my opinion, the little subtle hint that Montague. Yeah, so it's this little scene. Also, it's the fact that they are just referred to. Okay, right. Wait, you forgot how Tobias and the Half Pariah went. Very well, actually. Don't get me wrong. Dude, you've got to watch it before Arcane Merchant. It is necessary. Me, Andre, Adam, a couple of us been talking. We might do a big watch along before it comes out.
Yes, I mean,
Either way,
I
right.
heck,
Arcane Merchant.
I even
This
did.
scene.
I even did a what could have been.
This scene right here, I think, is the hint to how Montague is going to appear. This is the scene where, of course, if I just move it like 5 seconds. Oh, no, too far. No, too far. Bollocks. No, that's...
I can see the...
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, I think that this 2-second clip is the hint. The fact that they are referred to, you are all in my life now, and it's just a voice. The fact it is even referred to as a disembodied voice in the captions.
Well, we must take into consideration that one of the soundtracks alludes to, merchant wares and bargain souls. So it's hard to say.
Well,
what's
there are
gonna
two
take place.
theories, and one of them is who is the arcane. Because from what I have gathered, from what I understand, I remember Googling an arcane merchant to understand what one is. Arcane merchant is not an actual term. I will Google it just to confirm this. I reckon I'll Google it and arcane merchant will come up, like the film. Yeah, Tobias and the Arcane Merchant. God damn it.
It means mysterious.
Arcane Merchant is actually a game series. The
That it
Arcane
is.
Trade, the Arcane Trader, the Arcane Master.
So, in other
Jesus,
words,
that anime.
it's a
secret.
It's a secret, unknown potential possibility.
Exactly.
So it could be
ambiguous. It could be Olive. And that as well, the fact that it is called the Arcane Merchant and Arcane Merchant is completely ambiguous just puts everything that Tynes was saying into perspective, in the sense that there is no set bad guy. It could be James, it could be Oliver, it could be it could be Toad.
It could be Daisy.
It could be Toby, it could be Daisy, it could be everyone. Everyone's an asshole.
Well, the thing is, we see that Tobias is and it's mentioned throughout the clips, his engine, his eyes, they glow a mysterious blue, and I'm like,
well,
wait a minute.
What people are theorizing, there is set to be a flashback in this where we see Montague, from what I gather, I think we're going to get a flashback where we see Montague as a diesel with a proper face pack, and he will have blue eyes. And I think what this is going to refer to, it's not being a half pariah that gives you power, it's the engine. I think
the engine might have something to do with it.
I think there's a wee subtle theory that either Montague was born the Arcane Merchant. Now, bear in mind, this is all pure speculation. Montague was built different. Like, he was literally built different. Either that or he was made that way by the Arcane Merchant, which could be Oliver, which would explain why Duck shits on steam engines all the... Sorry, Montague shits on steam engines all the time, but still is friends with Oliver, because Oliver made Montague an all-powerful diesel. I reckon he gave part of his power to Montague, and that power, because Toby is now a hybrid, is in Toby, which is why Montague had blue eyes, and Toby does when he uses his power. The only way you could dissuade this theory is because Toby doesn't always have bright blue eyes. That's the only thing that dissuades it, whereas Montague always does.
Well, yes.
That's
it's
the
so
only
crazy.
way you can disprove my theory.
It's an excellent theory.
But I think you can sort of disprove that theory by saying that it only works for Toby when he goes quote unquote Super Saiyan.
That's very true. I mean,
That's my general understanding for how his powers work. It makes sense, and I think, yeah, this little scene where it's complete pitch black will be that little part of Montague talking to Toby. That's what
Could
I
be.
think is going on here. Because
you never know.
No
I mean,
matter what, this is either a dream or it is literally in Toby's subconscious. Because, well, for one, it's pitch black. 2, there are no tracks. 3, this happens.
well, yes, like yeah. Maybe
Something's going on there.
Maybe Tobias has pushed to the breaking point. I don't know.
It's got to be trying to say something, though.
Yeah, because I mean, that's potentially it. But I mean, there could be so many possibilities. Like, we're getting so close to that mysterious Christmas Eve potential possibility or Christmas Day release of this movie, of this masterpiece that will be this sequel 10 years, in production. Like,
yeah, the fact this
in
is
that
taken,
10 years,
and it's mental.
Yeah,
this wasn't even made like 3 years ago, like planned 3, 4, 5 years ago. This was planned almost right after Half Pariah came out.
Exactly, because in that time we got End of Your Origins, we got Stories of Sodor, we got we got other sub-series, and so many other.
I think none of us also, this film is 2 hours and 47 minutes. This film is about as long as Avengers Endgame. Yeah, let's see what the comments are saying. Nah. Oh, hell no. Toby's cracking like one of those old brown Lego pieces. Rough. Looks better than the Minecraft movie. Damn. Yeah, that's exactly it. This is what there is another line, and these comments sort of say it. So there is a line, I think it's when Oliver, yeah, that's it. Oliver says this. Oliver says, I just need to be strong. If I'm ever going to be a whole engine, I need him. I think this links into my theory that Oliver gave part of himself to Montague as the arcane merchant. Then when Montague had his engine pulled out, that went into Toby. Toby isn't powerful because of Montague's engine. He's powerful because of Oliver. Oliver needs it back. Which is maybe that's why Oliver is stuck as a 1400. Just a theory. Maybe Oliver can like shapeshift. Yeah, I could just write the whole theory down.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Oh, yes. Oliver and his gormless expression.
Yes, it's the way he says, I just need to be strong. If I'm ever going to be a whole engine, I need him.
Wait a minute.
This backs up my theory that Oliver gave a part of himself to Montague to become powerful. Then that power was passed into Toby because of the engine. So Oliver needs the engine back.
But wait a second.
To become an all-powerful being, Oliver needs the engine.
But what about this? That could be a potential theory that Oliver is the villain. He's trying to get the engine back. But imagine if Oliver was one of the tram engines that Toby was working with, like prior to him becoming an auto tank.
I think that may be a little too crazy.
This was a theory that was imagined like 7 years ago. Like,
the only way I can say it is from my perspective and understanding, I think, yeah, that's how it makes sense. Oliver will have a little moment with Toby. He's like, yo, I gave part of my power to freaking Montague, and it's stuck in that engine that's currently sat in your Where would this is okay? There's another issue. Montague was a class 40. Let me just pull up how big the engine in a class 40 is, because they're pretty massive. That's why the class 40s have got an extra set of trailing and leading wheels, just to literally support their bulk.
That's a good point.
They
There's
have
no
got.
way they would have downsized the engine unless the
Where
engine
the hell is this
downsized
engine
itself.
inside of Toby? Where is it?
It'd probably be like I don't know, right where it's so interesting where it'd be placed. Like it's certainly not in the firebox, that's for certain.
Okay, so yeah. The engine in a class 40 is an English Electric 16 SVT Mark II. Let's have a look at one of these engines, how big they are, maybe. Okay, rated at 2,000 horsepower. Size.
They're pretty big. I just looked one up.
Okay. God damn. 69. Oh, no. Sorry. It's 12. Bloody hell. No. I can't actually find the size of one of these engines. English Electric S. So it's an SVT, which means that it's a supercharged or turbocharged V-type. Oh, clever. Okay. Okay. Well played. So it's a 16-cylinder SVT. It's a 16-cylinder. So it's a 16-cylinder turbocharged engine. So that explains why Toby's such a weapon. Toby's just so powerful because he's got like a flipping mega horsepower engine in him. Yeah. Surely the size, the sheer girth of one of these engines is the entire length of Toby. Where is this engine fitting? You know what? Toby is just a box on wheels. Let's not question it. In fact,
that's interesting. According to Matt on Twitter, he says this: the Creative Collective was going to include Dark Sydney in the Return of Diesel arc. Unfortunately, that plot point was forgotten about and was abandoned.
I don't think that was the case. I think Mattel wouldn't have allowed a Dark Sydney.
Yeah, that's the issue with, because see, that's the reason Mattel took over Thomas around the time Creative Collective was at its peak.
I'm pretty sure they already had Thomas before the Creative Collective.
Fair enough. Secret compartment?
Yeah, Toby's just got a secret compartment. Toby's just got like a hidden. Where would that
be on a tram engine?
Maybe it's like, you know how a car has a trunk or a boot, as it's called in the UK? Maybe it's like that. It's just Toby's like hidden compartment, like his hidden trunk. It's just in there. But yeah, where the hell is this engine? Bruh, I know things. Okay, look. I know Half Pariah came out 10 years ago, and the whole logic of one, a Class 40s engine fitting in a tram engine, and two, Montague even becoming a steam engine is highly unlikely.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, the logic of converting a Class 40 into a Great Western Pannier, now that's one thing, but the engine from a Class 40 into a J70 tram engine, how does that work? That doesn't even follow the laws of physics.
Wait. Don't you remember? They got the top engineering minds from all over Britain. Don't you remember? They got like the best engineers in the country.
Oh, yeah.
Plot armor! Hooray!
I wonder if they're going to be a part of the sequel now that I come to think of it, those engineers.
The engineers just come back. Yeah, we're going to need that engine back. Aww. Anyway, yeah, check it out. It's so good. It's an absolutely iconic piece of media.
Oh yeah,
It has over 1 million views.
Yeah, like this excellent piece of media spawned from Wikipedia is just so amazing. It really is.
Like, I can't lie. This is even more hype than like fucking. What's it? It's got more hype than the Minecraft movie. Let's face it. I'm trying to think of what else.
Actually, the biggest film I've seen this year is obviously Transformers 1. That was such a good film.
Not seen
It really
it.
was. Like,
I don't know enough about Transformers. I can't lie. The only thing I know about Transformers is that Linkin Park songs are in it.
oh yeah, that was only in the Michael Bay universe sort of thing of films. I will say though that this is the biggest piece of fan media since End of Your Origins in 2005.
Oh yeah.
I think it was. Yeah. Because honestly, now I did read somewhere that Thomas Wayne 23 is going to do a remaster of The Search for Smudger, but in Wooden Railway form.
Yes, but no.
What do you mean, yes, but no? I saw the trailer.
Allow me to explain. The flashbacks will take place in Wooden Railway, so they look like flashbacks. But the actual film will take place in the Trains 19 universe.
Oh.
Yay!
I
thought it was a joke, but it turns out that's legit. So, yeah, and apparently it's going to be split into like half-an-hour parts, 3 or 4 of them.
Damn.
That's long. To be fair, Search for Smudger is iconic, but I think you forgot a piece of media that is arguably even bigger and has more hype than NWR Origins.
Okay. Let me guess. Stories of Sodor?
Hold that thought. I'll pull up a clip from it. I'll pull up a clip from it that just says it all. I wonder how long it'll... Oh, it comes up pretty quickly, actually. It's the third search option underneath the name. Wow.
Okay.
Bear with. Oh, god damn it. Adverts. It's giving me a yogurt advert. I don't want to see that.
Advertisement. Oh, no.
But... Okay. Here we go. You ain't ready for this one. Okay, so this is, in my opinion, the biggest piece of Thomas media since Half Pariah.
Oh, yes, the parody.
Just wait. It's this line.
Mr. Conductor, your whistle! It's broken!
Take this while you're at it.
I get to be the new Mr. Conductor?
Whatever floats your boat, kid.
God.
Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle.
Fuck yeah! Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. Woo-hoo-hoo! 1, 3.
God damn it.
Okay, the fact that they interpreted the gold dust as drugs in that parody is like, what?
Oh, come on. It's a golden powder. It's asking for a joke.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
Fuck yeah, sparkle, sparkle, sparkle.
because the thing about, I mean, and that joke's been so iconic because you gotta think this nostalgia critic, because he birthed that quote from his review of Tatmar. So
Nostalgia critic.
yes.
Do you mean Chris Eden Green?
Huh?
Do you mean Chris Eden Green? Because if you do, I'll show you something.
Okay.
I will show you something that I think just this is the original fuck yeah sparkle 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 actually.
Okay.
Fuck yeah sparkle 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 was not first used by the Magic Railroad parody, which I think in itself is well and truly goated. This is, in my opinion, the definitive fuck yeah sparkle sparkle sparkle. Bear with me. So this is by Chris Eden Green, who is most famous for doing a series called Steam Locos in Profile, where he talks about the different steam engines and their histories. But yeah, he also did a series called The Train Now Starring, and part of it is, and one of the episodes is on the Magic Railroad.
Adam,
Yes, Sam.
there's something I need to tell you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What is it?
Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle.
No! Fuck yeah! Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle!
Fuck yeah, sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. We just so for context, the person with the long hair, with the long untied hair in the middle of the two, is Chris. Chris is Chris Eden Green, and yeah, he runs Steam Locos in Profile, a web series that talks about. I say it's a DVD series actually. It talks about different steam engines. He hates Thomas the Tank Engine and often refers to him as the Little Blue Embarrassment.
Huh.
So that's why this happens. That's why he just
Adam.
screams no.
Yes, Sam.
There's something I need to tell you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What is it?
Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle.
No! Fuck yeah! Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle! Ladies and gentlemen, it's time.
Someone kill me now, please.
It's absolutely hilarious.
Hello and welcome to this very interesting edition of The Train Now Starring. This time we look at the 2000 Brit Allcroft produced Tommy and the Tragic Pharaoh. Thomas and the Magic Railroad. The story revolves around Thomas the Tank Engine and his friends under threat from an evil diesel. No, not that one. Or that one. That one would have been good. Imagine that one, but with a claw. So, the story.
Where to begin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Firstly,
Confusing.
why is it called Thomas the Tank Engine and the Magic Railroad, or Thomas and the Magic Railroad, when Thomas is hardly in it?
Yes, he's not really in this film.
Right, that's a good point.
He's not even a co-star.
He's given a main titles credit,
Yeah.
but he's barely in maybe half this film.
It's like making Alfie, but just making Michael Caine appear at the beginning and end.
Yeah, if there's a web series I can recommend, ladies and gentlemen, it is just Chris Eden Green in general and his antics. I can sum them up best. I don't know quite where he says it.
Really small in the real world.
Oh, here we go.
He's
Yes.
a tiny, like,
Tiny.
action man.
Like Tom
Size.
Hanks.
Yes, like Tom Hanks.
Yeah. But when Thomas goes through the Magic Railroad, he is normal size on
Well,
the
so
other side.
This is what we need to determine. Is the Unknown actually smaller than the real world, or is
Or
it
just far away.
or is
Yeah.
it small or far away?
Yeah,
Small, far away saves lives.
It does.
it does.
Also, Lily is normal size in the real world, but is she the same size going through, or does she get shrunk down?
She gets shrunk down to the same size as the other characters.
No, sorry, I can't accept that. Thomas the Tank Engine and his friends are full standard gauge size engines. They are interchangeable with
they
the
are.
main line.
Damn right they are. They are full standard gauge engines.
Therefore, they are not shrunk. Effectively, Shining Time, that weird place that no one has heard about, is full of fucking giants.
Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Shining Time is full of giants. Mr. Conductor is real sized, but Shining Time is full of giants. That would also explain why Mr. Conductor is tiny.
in the real world, but not in the Thomas world, because he is actually a fully sized human, whereas someone like Lily is actually just a giant. Just a massive giant human. There you go. There's a fan theory for you all. Let's get rid of that. God. Yeah, there is some truly incredible media out there. But all in all, I think that is where I'm going to end this stream. It's been very good to look back at the Signalman, the sort of impact it's had on my channel, which is still surprising to me, very much so. But yeah, there you go. Got to the end of that absolute bombshell. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end this stream, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you again, Bluebells fan, and I will see you all next time.